Welcome back to Politics Tonight. Right now, I'm joined by the National Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Senator Ajibola Basiru, for discussion on the state of the nation. Thank you for joining us, distinguished. Really glad to have you on the program. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, and good evening, Nigerian people.
Right. So before we get to talk about the state of the nation and all the president is currently doing, I've been wondering, how easy has it been for you to transit from a 7th senator, spokesman, then to the Senate, and then to the secretary of the ruling party?
I think it's all part of what we like call developmental, politics. And as you know, I was in the 9th, Senate. I was initially the chairman, Senate Committee on Diaspora and non-governmental, organization. About 1 year into the life of the 9th Assembly, I was appointed spokesperson and chairman, Senate Committee on Media and Publicity, and also member of several other committees of the Nigerian Senate. And of course, I was a candidate of my party, the APC, in the 2023 general election. In fact, I was unopposed in the primary of my party. But unfortunately, I lost the general election, held on February 25, and I decided to move on. I didn't even bother to challenge the election at the tribunal. August 3rd, 2023, I was fortunate to be elected by the National Executive Council of our party as the National Secretary of the party. And of course, I've had cognitive experience, both in the executive and also legislative arm. I was a 2-term commissioner in my state, Osun State, Commissioner for Regional Integration and Special Duties, and later on to Nigerian Commissioner for Justice before going to the Senate. And of course, I also had a robust, private practice experience as a legal practitioner, an academic, and also a contributor to national debate. And I believe that coming into the party at this time has also afforded the party the opportunity of my experience in being able to work to get the party restructured in terms of getting it prepared not only for the oncoming off-season election but ahead of the 2027 election. And it's been a very nice and worthy experience working with seasoned politicians like our chairman, national chairman, Dr. Abdullahi Obaru Ganduje, and eminent personalities from diverse background in the National Working Committee of the party. But I must also say that I express my gratitude to the leaders of our party, particularly the President, Ajibola Bola Tinubu, the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, and of course my leaders in Osun, Baba Bisi Akonde, and former governor, now Minister, for the confidence they have in me and being able to put me forward. And of course, the Nigerian Governors Forum under leadership of Governor Hope Uzodinma for their confidence, as well as leadership of National Assembly for their confidence that I'll be able to discharge that onerous responsibility of heading the secretariat of the ruling party, and as we say among ourselves, the largest party in the continent of Africa.
So let's talk about Ondo State. The APC leadership recently waded into the attempt to impeach the deputy governor of Ondo State. So how far has the party gone with resolving this?
There has been substantial progress in addressing some of the salient issues in that regard. Although I may not be able to give details because it may prejudice some of the work that we are doing. But suffice to say that politics is about conflict, resolution of conflict, and of course aggregation of diverse interests. And of course, as a political party, we are doing our best to be able to identify, then be able to aggregate the different contending interests in the Ondo politics. So it's a matter of time that we'll see amicable resolution of the issues in that regard, particularly as we are preparing for primaries for the governorship election in Ondo and Edo State latest by April next year. So I'm optimistic that the efforts being made both in public and also in private, discourse, we'll be able to ensure that all contending interests, all issues are resolved in a way that the party in Ondo State comes out, stronger from the present, issues that we have.
All right, so let me ask you this before we move on. If the deputy governor agrees to withdraw his lawsuits against the State House of Assembly, are you confident that the Assembly will drop the impeachment plans?
I've been able to tell you that I won't want to go into so much details. Politics is a marathon and not a sprint. So there are so many processes involved. Just as the deputy governor has a case before the Federal High Court, I will also know that the respondent, the state government, have also filed an appeal. So going into the nitty-gritty of what to withdraw first and who to withdraw and so on and so forth on the national, television, I would respect may smack of irresponsibility as an administrator within the party. Suffice to say is that we'll do our best to ensure that we resolve the matter in an amicable situation and ensuring that it's a win-win situation for the different contending parties in the Ondo politics.
All right, then. So let's get to our discussion for today. It's been 5 months since President Tinubu assumed office as the president of this great country. How will you describe the journey so far?
I would say that the journey has been very tough, very, challenging. And, of course, there are a lot of, rough edges that the president and the administration is, working, upon. And, of course, as a participant in the, party and the government activity, I would say that all is not, in the places that we want it to be. But we are very optimistic that by the time the efforts being put into being able to restructure our economy, ensuring that we make Nigeria attractive to investors, and of course, rejuvenate the productive, sector, at the end of the day, we'll be able to say that we are moving the country in the right, direction. Of course, one of the several challenges that face, this administration at inception has to do with the state of even the global, economy. You will discover that the global, pandemic of COVID affected drastically, all economies in the world. So Nigeria itself is not, isolated. We also have a lot of dysfunctionality in our economy, which is occasioned, one, by, the first subsidy regime, which is taking a large chunk of, resources that ought to be available for infrastructure development, for galvanizing the economy, and addressing, the welfare, of the people. We also have a situation whereby a large amount of our foreign reserves is also going to support, the naira and in the international, market. These are part of, challenges that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had to confront, immediately. We are still smarting to get out of, the symptoms of these, challenges. But in the long run, we are very optimistic that the country will be able to go back to the path of productivity, which will assist in strengthening our currency. We also are optimistic that Nigeria will become an attractive place for investment, and therefore the diversification that is necessary so that we will not be relying too much on the oil and gas sector will also catalyze in development of our people. And of course, some of the challenges that we also are facing presently is in terms of food security and sustainability of prices of agriculture and commodity exchange in the country. And these are also areas that the country, the government is also working in that regard. Of course, I must also mention the problem that we have in terms of revenue for government. Most of the time, people outside the government often refer to the need to allocate money to certain sectors and this sector and so sector. But in reality, we must address the question of revenue. So we need to de-emphasize revenue from the oil sector. And I think that is why, Mr. President set up an interdisciplinary committee in the area of tax revenue, so that we'll be able to address, the inadequacy of revenue that is bedefiling the realization of development, of our people. And of course, the president has also set up, teams and personnel in different, sector to be able to ensure that we make use of the best brain in every aspect of our public life, irrespective of their ethnic origin or religious, affiliation.
Distinguished, because it was a transition of power from the same APC, former President Muhammadu Buhari governed for 8 years under this same party. So it's understandable when people thought things would have been easier for this new administration. But why does governance appear tough for the administration of President Tinubu?
I will say that the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, yes, is an offshoot of our political party. But largely from the way Mr. President took off on that momentous day, 29th of May 2023, is a reform government. And when you have a reform government, the fact that you are an offshoot of the previous administration does not make it easy for you to be able to take off. And what Mr. President is doing, and he made a very bold statement, that it is better for him for now to seem as unpopular, but then be able to lay a solid foundation for the advancement of our country. It is meritorious. So, and you also know, if you follow the pattern of the governance style of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as governor of Lagos State, in the first 1 or 2 years of his administration in Lagos, he appeared not to be popular, but by the time the effort he had put in place in the area of environmental sanitation, traffic decongestion, in the area of public-private partnership in infrastructure development came to reality, people began to give salutary kudos to him. So I'm very optimistic that the present challenges the administration is facing in terms of putting the right policies and the right programs and the right approach to financing public infrastructure, will be able to say at the end of the day that this man meant very well and he has acted not for his own personal adulation, but for the purpose of the general interest of the Nigerian people. And you see that one of the areas that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had put in place is the area of policy coordination, whereby there will be key performance index for each of the ministries, departments, and agencies of government, and there will be timelines for those deliveries, and there will also be certain measures and parameters to measure whether those set goals are being achieved. I think these are part of the reform that the administration is doing to ensure that we have a better approach to governance in the country.
Right. So it's evident that Nigerians are going through economic hardship and citizens are asking questions. How much longer do you think the country can begin to witness some relief?
I must here on behalf of our party say that we sincerely sympathize with the challenges that our fellow Nigerians who are our brothers, sisters, family members are facing presently. But then we must be able to also say that some of these challenges are necessary in order for us not to go into an economic quagmire in the nearest future. You remember that Venezuela was also one time all-rich nation. The same thing with Argentina. But when certain policies were not put in place at the appropriate time, that led to serious consequences adversely affecting the populace in those countries. So we definitely feel that yes, there are present challenges in terms of inflation, in terms of accessibility, and of course the purchasing power of our people. But in the long run, by the time the increment of the wage of the workers are worked upon, by the time the infrastructure development project fully come on board, and by the time the country is able, with the reform being done in the area of the macro economy comes to fruition, we're able to attract foreign investors and develop the risk sector of our economy. Some of these challenges will definitely become a bit. But of course, I don't have power of clairvoyance. I cannot say that this is the cutoff date for which we'll be able to, have overcome this. Life itself is a continuum, is challenging, and the ability of any, leader is to be able to confront head-on with any challenge and give a pathway for further development and prosperity of his people.
So because the major issue which compounded this suffering we're talking about is fuel subsidy removal, do you think the president made a mistake in removing the subsidy so early?
He did not make any mistake about subsidy. If assuming the subsidy had not been removed, I doubt whether the country would not have gone under in terms of being, practically, insolvent. You will, know that under the 2023 appropriation, even the National Assembly, when one in the 9th Assembly, we did not make any provision beyond end of June 2023 for subsidy removal, because what is being used for removal of for subsidy is actually in excess of what goes into capital, expenditure of governance. And you know that when you are not spending on capital expenditure and you are even borrowing money to sustain the subsidy regime, you are not only depleting your foreign reserves, you are also creating a dysfunctionality that would ultimately, wreck, the country. Yes, tough decisions are supposed to be taken, and the president has decided to take that very tough, decision. Of course, as Robert Sula said, tough times never last, but tough people, do.
So let's talk about another issue. This is the sliding value of the naira. Why is the administration finding it so hard to check this?
You see, the question of naira, I would say that I'm largely handicapped in many respects. I'm not, a core expert in the economy, not talk of monetary, policy, but from available literature, which, is generally, available, there are so many decisions that government, will have to take. From what I read, I understand, maybe rightly or correctly, that in the previous, period before naira is floated, at least about $1.5 billion are spent monthly to be able to sustain, the artificial price, of naira. And then there is also the problem of whether the country will be attractive to any investor who, very well may not be able to repatriate, their investment, or when they want to so repatriate, they are going to lose a large, value in that regard. So a balancing has to be made in whether you want to continue to deplete our foreign reserves, or we want to make our country to become disincentive to investment, or we want to confront this problem. This is apart even from the fraud and corruption regime that the what I call subsidy of the naira is also causing. And the disincentive to investment and practical productivity can be seen in this way. If somebody able to get a dollar at 410 naira, then there's a black market where you can take it for 710 naira, and such people getting 100 of millions of dollars. What incentive do you really have to engage in productive economy? Those are issues. Then we also have the fact that our productive sector is also challenged, and that is why one of the focus of this administration should be and is in the area of energy, because the cost of production itself will be reduced if we're able to tackle headlong the problem of energy, and then the huge amount of money being used on alternative source of energy apart from the electricity provided by the various discos would also be able to help small, middle scale, and even large industry to be able to produce to the level of productivity. And of course, you know that some of the building block for industrialization and productivity is steel production. As reading today, I learned that Ajaokuta steel production steel complex is between 92 and 98% completion. Of course, with a steel industry, you are really going to the path of a productive economy.
All right, distinguished. Yes, I know you're not an economist, but I mean, you just answered this question like an economist. So one more. I'm sure you know the CBN recently lifted the restrictions on Forex for 43 items. And many experts say this move will be counterproductive and will destroy local industries. Do you agree?
You see, there are always, policy choices that you have to make. Do you want, within the context of African Free Continental Trade Agreement, which Nigeria is a signatory to and we're a party to, even if those, restrictions were not removed, to the extent that you have a free trade, regime within the continent, of Africa, then you will be doing the service for yourself when you are still engaging in, restricting international, trade. That means that some other competitors within the African continent will take the benefit, and then you will be, at a loss in this regard. Then when it comes to policy, choices, there are always pros and cons for every policy choices, and I believe that those in the CBN, and of course, getting the approval of the people in charge of the economy, making that decision, they are also not, neophytes, and they could not be charged to be people who will act in a way consciously inimical to the economic development and growth of our country.
All right, distinguished, let's take a break. Tonight, I've been speaking with the National Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Ajibola Basiru. We'll take a break now, and this conversation will return when I come back. Stay with us.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, and the conversation tonight is about the state of the nation. And for the past 30 minutes thereabouts, I've been speaking with the National Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Senator Ajibola Basiru. All right, distinguished, let's now get back to your party. The administration campaigned on the Renewed Hope agenda. How well has this manifesto been implemented?
We just in 5 months into the administration. And of course, the building blocks for the realization of the Renew Hope agenda are actually being put in place by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. One, you must first realize that the administration has decided to restructure the ministries in such a way that there will be realization of the different components of the Renew Hope agenda. For instance, in the health sector, you see that there is the overall minister, and also the minister that is specially charged with certain critical sector of the health sector. You also look at the area of the solid minerals, whereas you have minister for solid minerals. You also have minister specifically for steel development, which is a critical area necessary for industrialization. Also, you also have a situation whereby the old Ministry of Transportation is now split into Ministry of Transportation and the Ministry of Blue and Marine Economy, which is now, one of the areas by which our approach to diversification of the economy, could be realized, and so on, and so forth. So in terms of the conceptualization of the structure of government itself, you have seen, the seed being planted for germination for the realization of the Renew Hope agenda. And of course, in the education, sector, you can see that efforts are being made to ensure that we are able to meet different challenges in that regard. Of this, of late, is also the fact that the Mr. President has said that the denial of payment to striking ASU members should be reversed so that they could be able to have some form of encouragement to be able to discharge their work in that regard. So as far as I'm concerned, you also look at the issue of the student loan, which has been signed into the bill and which, if implemented, we're able to assist the vulnerable in society to have access to quality education, particularly tertiary education.
All right, so I want you to react to a narrative. The president inaugurated his cabinet a few months ago, but Nigerians say most of them are yet to hit the ground running. How will you react to this?
I wouldn't know how somebody will sit in his house and say that the ministers have not hit the ground running, unless maybe they expected them to wear their sports shoe and be running around their ministries. Work of ministers are done either in the confines of their offices, at meeting places, and of course, if it has to do with field works, they have to go and for site supervision. And quite a number of the ministers, I've seen them doing their work, and they have things to show for what they are doing in terms of their deliverable in their ministries.
All right, but for those who are yet to hit the ground running, what do you have to say to them?
No, any minister that has not hit the ground running. Maybe if you furnish me with information about those ministers, then we may have to call on the president and the special advisor on policy coordination, Ajibola Usman, that such people should be asked to get the ground running. But I don't believe that there's any minister since inauguration has not been doing what they're supposed to do. I saw the Minister of Sports going around our sporting facilities, and even I had conversation with him talking about the need for private investment in the sporting sector. You also have just even this evening, the Minister for Blue and Marine Economy, we were together at 18 Transcorp at the venue where the National Economic Summit is holding. So I wouldn't know which minister that is not doing his own work. But you know, in politics, people are wont to make allegations which are not founded. So I would say that the allegation that there's any minister that has not been up and doing is unfounded.
Right. Also, the president has constantly reminded these new ministers that they cannot disappoint Nigerians who expect them to serve with dignity and competence to actualize this renewed hope agenda. And he also said that actions will be taken if any minister is found wanting. How instructive is this for you?
I think I said earlier on that there is a section in the presidency, which is the Policy Coordination Department, which has set up parameters for performance and evaluation of the work of the minister. So that will be the basis upon which the president might have been speaking on the need for the ministers to know that there is an evaluation platform and there are responsibilities for which they will be able to get evaluated, possibly on a quarterly basis, as to delivering on the core mandate as specified in the various mandates given to the ministers.
Right. So the president has made several appointments, but some support groups are aggrieved over the APC reward system. How is the party addressing this?
I would say that the question of a reward system is neither here nor there. Yes, we're a political party. We have won an election, and we won election on the basis of delivering on the Renew Hope agenda. If we can find expertise within our party, of course, they will be given responsibility to carry on those responsibilities. And of course, quite a number of our party persons had actually been given, responsibility in this, government. Of course, if you also find competent people who are Nigerians and will be able to also support the realization of the Renew Hope agenda, I don't think it will be said that it is wrong to make such people available for the purpose of achieving the goal of Mr. President. I think that, should be we should put that, in proper, perspective. So it's not just to say that yes, because APC has won election, irrespective of that, we should not allow other Nigerians who may even not be politicians not to participate in the political process.
So why do you think this is hard for some of your party members to understand?
Because it's not, everybody wants to have access to government. Everybody would want, to participate one way or the other in government. And of course, the party members have legitimate right and expectation to say that yes, we work for the future of the party and we must be involved in that process. But as it were, there are still countless number of possible public engagement by the government, and we believe that as time goes on, the president will get the party leadership to sit down and then be able to get suitable party members and stalwarts to get engaged, particularly in boards of our parastatals and in boards of our schools and all other areas by which their services may be needed. You still have possibly thousands of places where party members could be engaged. Of course, as a party, we are constructively engaging with the necessary offices, that of the SGF, the Chief of Staff, and of course, Mr. President, on the need to get competent, and I play emphasis on the competent members of our party to be part of the governance process.
All right, so we've also seen the president reverse some appointments he made. Why this?
Of course, there might be misinformation, because it might well be that the president, with respect to the handlers in those respect, might not have furnished Mr. President with adequate information, or the information is not really clear as to who is intended to be appointed. It may also be possible that the president is being responsive to the agitations and criticism of members of the public. And I think that we should see this as a double-edged sword. If president had taken a decision and it is said that the president reconsidered those decisions, and I think the president should be applauded. Otherwise, we will have a situation whereby there will be perpetuation of error that may not augur well for the smooth and effective administration of the government. So it takes a courageous leader to realize that certain mistakes have been made and then reverse those mistakes. But we hope that the handlers of Mr. President will be more circumspect, will be more thorough, and will be able to avail Mr. President with necessary facts before such appointments are made. For instance, appointments to certain offices by law require certain threshold in terms of accomplishment, in terms of professional expertise, and in terms of age of cognate experience. So one expects that the handlers of some of those responsibilities should be alive to be able to look critically at the bio and the resume of those appointees before they present it to Mr. President. You cannot expect that it's Mr. President himself that will be fishing and looking at those things, but then the finished work must be done in a way that is seamless and that I will project thoroughness in those who are given those responsibilities.
All right, let's move on to other issues, and particularly this off-season governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. How ready is the APC?
We are ready, and we are happy today that the Supreme Court has laid to rest the contest within the party as to who is to fly the flag of our party in the November 11 election in Kogi State. The Supreme Court this afternoon dismissed the petition by Senator Smart Adeyemi and affirmed the candidature of Adodo as our candidate in Kogi election. Of course, the incumbent governor, who is also the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Senator Opusodima, is our flag bearer, is a politician that has grassroots appeal, and with the kind of support that we saw during the inauguration campaign in Owerri, we are very optimistic that we will be able to deliver on Imo State. Same thing with Kogi State, by the grace of God. And of course, Bayelsa, we won the election in Bayelsa about 4 years ago, and it was taken away from us by court judgment on the eligibility of our deputy governorship candidate. So we are hopeful to reenact the feat of the last election also in Bayelsa State. And of course, we are not resting on our horse. The elections are just some few weeks away. We are going to do all to ensure that we mobilize, sensitize, and get the electorate to vote for our party, the APC, in all the 3 elections.
Right, but do you see the APC retaining power in 2 of the 3 states controlled by the party?
Of course, I've said that much. Imo State, the incumbent governor and our party is the party to beat. And when you have a Imo State where virtually all political party and even opposition are already working for the success of our candidates, I don't think we should exercise any doubt in the future of our party in Imo State. As for Kogi State, you have a multiple race of about 4 or 5 different political party. You have the SDP, the ADC, the PDP, and so on and so forth. But the party that has the edge, going by the result of the last election, is the APC. And of course, with the what we saw in Lokoja when we went there, and of course, assessment that we have done cutting across all the local government from Igala Mela to Ofu to Dekina in the Kogi East, and Gorimagogo, Adafi, and all of those areas. We are very optimistic that we are going to have resounding success by the grace of Almighty God on November 11 in Kogi State. And as for Bayelsa, we won in the last election, and we are hopeful to win the next election.
All right. So because this is the first set of elections to be conducted after the 2023 general elections, how do you think INEC can ensure credible conduct?
Of course, the 2023 election, as far as I'm concerned, was largely credible. It's just so fortunate that we have people whose democratic credentials appear doubtful that are trying to cast aspersion on that election. You will see that even from the litany of petitions that have been filed, the complaint that Idado assail election in terms of ballot stuffing, ballot snatching, arbitrary writing of results, did not surface in this election. It is absolutely irrelevant issues as to whether the certificate of a candidate was written in a particular font or the other, even when there is evidence that such a candidate graduated from that institution. You will see that, or to say that a candidate did not have 25% in a particular location, as if people in those locations are special being and have a weighted vote, whereas the Constitution guarantees equality of vote and equality of every citizen of Nigeria. So I will say that the 2023 election is largely free and fair, and is an advancement on previous election. And I'm also optimistic that INEC will live up to its responsibility in delivering on free and fair election in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo on November 11, 2023.
All right, before I let you go, distinguished, it's important for me to have you react to this. Our court cases continue to trail our elections. How do we get over this?
Of course, electoral justice is always part of the democratic process, and that is why all over the country there's always the avenue for anybody who feel aggrieved in an election to approach the election petition tribunal, and whether successful or not, pursue the case up to the last appellate court. You cannot shut people out of such processes. But coming from the avalanche of petition after the 2003 election, which was badly rigged, brutally manipulated by the President Obasanjo government, where he publicly said it's a do or die affair. I think there has been a reduction in terms of numbers of election petitions, and issues in election petition are gradually narrowing down. I think most issues now boil down on issue of qualification or improper conduct of primaries producing candidate at the election. The question of actual conduct of the election is far becoming a receding feature in our electoral litigation.
All right. So finally, as the National Secretary of the ruling party, what's your message to Nigerians at this critical time?
Our message to Nigerian people is that we want to appeal to them in good conscience that they should show understanding and that we are conscious of the fact that Nigerians, all of us, are facing challenging period economically, and that we are prayerful and hopeful that with all efforts, some of these critical challenges will be a thing of the past. No government will set out to inflict hardship on those who have put him into power, but then we need to take decisions, hard decision it may be, to ensure that we live a country of prosperity and development for the present and also the future occupiers of this space called Nigeria.
All right. Senator Ajibola Basiru, National Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Thank you so much for joining us on Politics Tonight. It's been great having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for joining us, Senator. Thank you.
For having me too.
And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke WO using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatuju. Goodbye.